Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчтэй. Өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Herbalife компанийн Хүнс тэжээлийн боловсрол хөгжлийг хариуцсан дэд ерөнхийлөгч Доктор, Нийгмийн эрүүл мэндийн ухааны магистр Luigi Gratton оролцож байна. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you, Luigi, to my studio. What brought you to Mongolia?
Well, I am a family medicine physician. I've been working with this company Herbalife for about 11 years. And we are here on a training. I'm actually training a group of our independent members who live here in Mongolia and work here. And we're also doing some media. So folks like you are hosting me to talk about nutrition, talking about the principles of basic nutrition and sports nutrition.
Well, that's I would like to go into details as kind of your products here were well known now, and people find and try to understand more clearly why is that so important. So let's go one by one.
Sure.
Well, let's start from the issues we have concern in Mongolia.
Sure.
Obesity, 30%. People, former nomads, we don't run anymore our horses.
Yeah.
We sit and drive cars, city mostly like this. And some people have difficulty to find the right places to find gym, you know, due to different difficult conditions.
Yeah.
So how to combine that nutrition and how to combine it with exercise so that we are not that fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please advise.
So it's an interesting point you're making because there's been a big transition in addition to what we call the Western diet, which is a very easy thing to just blame things on Western processed food. That's happening. Food is changing. If you look at the difference between what our grandparents ate, let's say, 2 generations back, it would be significantly different than what we eat today.
Exactly.
It's totally different. And as you pointed out, physical activity. Our grandparents most likely had to be more physically active. They worked maybe on a farm, maybe building something. So nutrition was an important part of fuel for the body to actually complete the exercise or the project. Whereas now, it's really something that we don't need as many calories as you're suggesting with driving, and we need to have the right types of calories. So culture's changed, the diet's changed, and we want to make sure that the human body can get the right nutrients.
You know, we are learning it with this country 25 years ago, former communist country. We are changing. We are shifting the way we live, the way we elect, say, economic and political life. Now the way we live. And we to understand and absorb the transition, as you said. Right. You have been doing it for the last maybe 50 years, 2 generations. Now we are doing exactly that. So what kind of foods are good? You know, we as nomads, we traditionally eat mostly mutton, lamb, and then beef. In general, I think in our portion we have a huge meat. And they say meat is no good. So what do you advise these people? They are lost.
That's a good point. It's a good point. So I don't have a problem with meat personally, nor as a principle of nutrition, as long as it's fresh. In fact, recently, I believe it was the World Health Organization made a sort of a big statement on the processed meats. So this came out several months ago. There's not so much an
I
issue,
remember that.
Right. It's
Yes.
really the processing of meat.
Yes.
Some of the things that are inherent, the phosphates and the things they need the chemicals they use to process the meat, to give it a shelf life. If you're having fresh, natural meat from the farm, fantastic, especially if it's organic. So inherently, there's nothing wrong with meat. Also, meat is very nutrient dense. That means you have a lot of good protein and good calories. And there won't be as many calories in, let's say, a piece of steak as there would be in a cup of sugar, or let's say some butter or something that's very fatty. So meat isn't so bad. Generally, we recommend you get half of your protein calories from animal protein, and then half from plant protein. So rice.
Meaning?
So rice, beans, soybean. As you know, some of the products that I work with. Yeah. Bread is okay. The problem with things like bread, it's very difficult to find breads that are nutrient dense. So you have, let's say, 70 calories in one slice, but lots of good nutrients. So Ezekiel bread is very concentrated, not too much sugar. In fact, it's very low in sugar, and it's high in protein. So that's a good bread. Regular Western bread, not very good. It's like having a cup of sugar.
Yes, that's the issue here as well, because we eat a lot flour-based food.
Yeah.
We call it in our national food called bartsak, which means they do it with flour is mixed with a oil, heavy oil, not the olive oil, but with unfortunately fat origin oil, and then it's boiled again in oil.
Right.
It's coming kind of boiled in a fat, a bread kind of, and that's traditional food. And now we find out it is not good at all. So that's another concern we have. And plus, you know, fatty meat altogether, no, in some families they eat a lot. All right, so food is 50% from animal protein, 50% from the, then...
That's a general rule.
Yeah, general rule. Now, you need to combine it with exercise.
Yes.
Otherwise, you just alone eating doesn't change much.
Right. Exactly.
So what exercise? And people are different.
Yeah.
You know, people like you, big, you know, they eat a lot, exercise a lot. You have to. And mostly I saw people of your size being very big and very big and fat. You are very slim, so how come? So you should know this exercise.
Well, I would first point out that, and this goes back to your original point about someone who spends all day in the car and they're driving. Years ago, we did more physical activity as a people, all across the globe. Everyone was more physically active. No one was doing accounting 200 years ago. Very few people, right? Everyone was physically active. So the human body needs to exercise. It's meant to be physically active every day. And we're finding that people who have more muscle, it doesn't have to be huge muscle. We just had lunch in a local restaurant, and there was a Mongolian guy who was very muscular. He looked like a professional Olympic weightlifter. He probably naturally carries that muscle. That is an anti-aging thing. People who have more muscle live longer. They live longer.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's an anti-aging tissue.
Wow.
Because muscle reduces blood sugar. It acts as a depot for insulin. It sucks the sugar in, right? So muscle also is metabolically active. It burns more fat in the body. So generally, if we take someone who's 80 years of age, anywhere in the States, in America, and they're not doing very well, we have them build 1 or 2 kilos of muscle. It's hard to do. And they will get better because they can comb their hair, they can start to cook again, they can go to the bathroom by themselves, and they can do independent function. And when you get someone who's old doing independent function, changes everything with 1 kilo of muscle, 2 kilos of muscle. So muscle is anti-aging. People who live longer have more muscle.
So that, does it mean that the sportsmen, mostly of big athletes, tend to live longer?
Only if they haven't abused themselves for the 10 years during their sport. So if they're an extreme American football player, they may have a good heart, but their knees are done. Their joints. So it depends on the extremity, the extreme nature of the sport, if it's a lot of contact. But if they were a, let's say a swimmer or a skier or something, usually they do just fine,
Have you been a professional sportsman?
I wasn't professional. In my university training at UCLA, I ran for 3 years cross country, like 10,000 meters like you, and I'd run track, the 1,500 meters and 800 meters. So I wasn't Olympic caliber, but I was okay. I was pretty good.
Дэлхийн шилдэгүүдийг тодруулдаг Forbes сэтгүүлийн шилдгээр Luxury King Tower apartment шалгарлаа.
Well, looks like you have been very active.
I try and stay active.
Have been swimming a lot?
A little bit. I'm not a strong swimmer the way I am a runner. I'm okay, but I'm much better.
Now, I mean, with your work, you are responsible for large corporations, product development, and also education.
Yes.
You said over 90 countries you have offices.
94, yep.
You need to travel a lot,
Yes.
fly a lot. So how you combine that exercise?
It's tough. It's tough because
Time difference.
you require sleep. You have to get, because when
That's another point, yes.
It's very important. So if you can get a good 5 to 6 hours of sleep every night, this is when your brain gets into a deep, rapid eye movement sleep. And when you cycle through these deep cycles of sleep, the body repairs itself. The hormones,
Yes.
the growth hormone comes out, and your body starts to really repair. And that's why you feel so refreshed.
Yes.
And if you're exercising like you're in great shape. That's why sleep is so important. So it has to be good nutrition and good sleep.
Yes.
And then on the road, a little bit of resistance training and a little bit of cardio.
Yes.
So I just mix the two up, 30 minutes and 30 minutes.
Every day?
Very simple, every day.
And running cardio means how long do you run?
For me, I'll just go walking. If I can find a treadmill, 30 minutes on an incline, so I have some resistance on there. Or if I can
Incline
go
on
running.
3 or 4 or?
Oh no, I'm just about, let's say 5%, 5-6%,
Okay.
and I'm going 4 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Just a good brisk walk.
Wow, quite a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
every day.
Yeah, every day.
Oh my goodness.
Every
I
day.
go every second day, 2 kilometers, which is less than a mile, 15 minutes running, and I run enough, getting hot, then I do exercise
That is amazing.
every second day.
There's a very prominent researcher in the United States at, he's with Duke University, I believe currently. His name is William Evans, Bill Evans, and he is very well known for anti-aging, particularly in looking at populations that live very long and who stay healthy. And he found that the most important predictor of everything, of all-cause mortality, is walking 30 minutes a day. More than smoking cessation, more than drinking green tea, more than having fruits and vegetables. People who walk 30 minutes a day, those communities live the longest, and we're not sure why.
Now, there's many studies that show that just regular active exercise makes your brain working.
Yeah.
That means all processes working probably. So, with all this thing, what kind of products you think most relevant or most like it here and most the people find good for their health?
Yeah, I think this is, I think, crucial to the discussion on nutrition. The first thing to understand, whether we're in Mongolia, we're in California, France, people are eating too many calories.
True.
It's the fact. Since 1950, since the end of World War II, there has been an explosion in the amount of calories available to humans, because many of the technology that was used to make explosives was converted into fertilizer.
Correct.
So we've doubled the amount of natural fertilizer with artificial fertilizer. Therefore, we can make a lot more food. So everyone, if you and I need about 2,500 calories, now we have 4,000 available to us in every city.
Even we don't know that we are taking that amount too.
Exactly. And the job of the food companies are to try to get us to buy and consume more.
Yes.
So this is where the problem is. Your average person, as you pointed out with the interview, 30% obesity in Mongolia. People are consuming a lot more calories and exercising less. So to answer your first question, we reduce the calories. We get them back down around 2,000. It's very simple. We just need to use certain products or foods that are concentrated in nutrition, low in sugar and low in calories. So I have a meal replacement shake every morning. I have 2 actually every day. Drank one this morning, it's 200 calories, fresh fruits. I can put vegetables in there. I have about 2 scoops of protein powder. It's fantastic.
No other food?
No other food in there.
No coffee?
No, I love coffee.
Yeah,
I love
me
tea.
too.
I love. I
Cannot
really enjoy
avoid
coffee.
it, sorry.
I love coffee. But if, let's say you have a cup of coffee here in Mongolia, black, it's about 100 milligrams of caffeine. If you fly, or anywhere in the city, you go to a coffee house, a popular coffee house, the lattes that they make that are very delicious with caramel and chocolate, those are 250 calories.
That's what I guess.
Yeah.
Because you know,
so
you
good.
tend to, once you start to drink latte or cappuccino, then you tend to drink more.
Exactly.
That's the reason.
You get accustomed to
And
it.
yet at home I do just black coffee, add a
fantastic.
bit honey,
It's great.
and then mixing. That's it.
That's wonderful. Black coffee is terrific, even if you add honey. Because coffee naturally has something called chlorogenic acid in the coffee bean, which is fantastic for the GI tract and fantastic for the body. So coffee is healthy. And if you keep it, let's say, under 100 milligrams per serving, or about, no problem. The coffee houses make very strong coffee, 200 milligrams of coffee, the caffeine, with lots of sugar.
And then your eyes are shining,
exactly.
Ready to move every track. A question about losing weight for people who has obesity, obviously. This is for many people who has obesity. It's not only a problem, it's in a way tragedy. They want to have a less weight, but they cannot. They need to eat. And here in this country, they're all foods, not as clearly classified as in the US. I lived in Colorado and everything. There's a food, whole food, all this.
Oh, you know about
everything is classified. In Mongolia, food, these shops not necessarily label everything as it is. So how can help with these people?
Well, it's very important. I love these questions, by the way, because you really know your nutrition. And this is sort of a very unique type of interview because you have a clear understanding of nutrition. The first point about calories is important. So the general population doesn't need 4,000. We got that. So maybe 2,000, I would say. The second point is focusing on the nutrients. So protein, as you mentioned, the Mongolian diet is high in animal protein.
Yes.
It's okay. Maybe 50%, let's say, of the total calories. No problem. The third point would be the types of fats. Most of the food that's processed is very high in what's called omega-6 fatty acids that you know about. I know you're familiar with
Omega-6, yes.
Which are opposite of the omega-3 that most people know about from fish, like fish oil. So the omega-3s generally reduce inflammation, whereas the omega-6 increase inflammation in the body. Most food, I bet, for anyone who's obese, you can measure in the blood something called the omega-3/6 ratio.
Okay.
It's a very popular measure that's in the West now.
Okay.
People are doing. I bet you take anyone who is obese here in Mongolia, you reduce the omega-6 fats in their diet, they'll lose weight like that.
Okay.
Because the inflammatory fats come out of the body.
Okay.
And if you get them on, let's say, if they're having grass-fed beef, you get, let's say, cows or cattle that's eating the grass, which is very high in omega-3. That fat gets into the beef, and now you're eating a steak with omega-3s, not omega-6. And then it affects the body.
For your information, all Mongolian cows are eating only that grass, natural grasses.
That's amazing.
So that's why we don't, 100%. We don't have farm for beef.
This is wonderful.
So everybody, I think all Mongolian cows are so smart. It's like institution. It goes itself, no need to care of. They go in the morning, they take the natural grasses wherever they find, they come back. After 3 or 4 months, if the herdsmen find the all local pastures are used, then they move to next direction. It's such a big country, size of Texas. So that's why we are called nomads, because keep moving. So I think by nature our beef are good. You please test it.
Yes. I would love to find
so
out.
for Mongolians, eat more your beef. I mean, not more, but mostly eat beef, but exercise. Then where the omega-6 is coming from?
So they're also, if they're not in the meat here, the way in America, most of our beef is not grass-fed. It's mostly fed with grains.
So fertilizers are coming from, the omega-6 is coming from fertilizers.
It's actually, the fertilizers will be used to grow corn in America. We grow a lot of corn. And we feed the corn to the cows and the chickens and the pigs. And then that meat has very high omega-6. The meat here is very high in omega-3. So it's fantastic here. It's very bad in the U.S. It causes a lot of inflammation. So that's why people are turning to organic.
Please, before that, inflammation. What do you mean, inflammation of fat?
So if you think about any chronic disease, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, these are all inflammatory conditions. If you think about the body as being on fire, the tissues are being cooked almost.
All the time.
The cells are aging faster. and dying, or I should say being damaged.
Okay.
So this is the problem with the chronic disease.
Does this omega-6 and do omega-6 and do omega-3 to do with also diabetes?
Yes, the omega-6s promote diabetes.
Two type of cholesterol. It has to do with this cholesterol?
This is exactly right. So you can have one type of, so these are all long chain fats. And it's great because you seem to know all this stuff too. These are long chain fats. And if you count the number of carbons on the fat, there's certain bonds at the number 3 position and the number 6 position.
Okay.
That's the only difference. So the omega-3 fat is very flexible.
I see.
So when you eat fish, that fat is a very flexible fat. And when you eat it, it gets into the brain tissue. 40% of our brain is made of omega-3. Oh. That's why it's so important to eat fish or fatty oils from omega-3s. Or beef that's grass-fed. That omega-3 fat is very good for the brain. It's also good for the heart. It makes the heart contract and flex very well.
Now we talk about grown-up people. Yeah. But on the other hand, for children up to 3 years old, 85% of brain weight is being formed by 3 years old. And that's why the children's head is larger than body. Yeah. And at that process, how important is that, what we talk about?
It's incredibly important. In fact, many places, the UK many years ago, actually probably about 5-6 years ago, was trying a program to give children in the schools, after that age of 2 to 3, they were trying a test program to give children omega-3 capsules.
Okay.
Because they believe that it would increase some of their learning potential. Also, because a lot of children have too many of the bad fats, the omega-6, they believe that it may have caused attention deficit disorder, where they're hyperactive in school and they can't be controlled very well, or they're not learning very well. So this was a way to think about something to help with the children who are not developing very well. We do the same thing in the US. It's very common to see a commercial on television to a mother who says you should give your children omega-3 capsules. They have milk fortified with omega-3, juice, foods. They put it in everything because we clearly have a problem. Here in Mongolia, again, if the beef is grass-fed, terrific, because you're getting the healthy oils from the grass.
Yes, we do.
We don't have that in America because we feed the corn. And you're seeing that in Europe. You're seeing that in Argentina.
Yes.
It's happening in other places. So hopefully Mongolia doesn't change this fantastic, beautiful culture of grass-fed beef.
Yes.
It's unique and very few countries can afford to do it.
We should not, because it's also in association with our culture.
It's beautiful.
And if we change that pattern, we change our culture.
Right.
Because, after your cows and other animals you take care of, you run by horse in this country. So the horse is also used for many other things. Certain time to occupy other countries, as you know, 800 years ago, they were occupying too much. Anyway, this is our nomadic way of life, and only a quarter or so of population live in that way. Half of the country lives in this crazy city, and a lot of pollution, traffic jam. So we must have to think about our health, and for that we need the right food, exercise. Another question I want to ask was, how much important is the attitude?
Oh, absolutely. It's, I think, probably one of the most important things. There's a pretty well-known doctor who's a nutrition doctor in America. His name is Dean Ornish. He's very much into fruits and vegetables. So he promotes a big fruit and vegetable diet, because remember, in America, our beef is very high in omega-6. So we get people off some of the omega-6 rich meat, and they do much better on vegetables. He talks about what he calls love therapy. And it's this crazy idea for a lot of doctors. We think, what is he talking about? But he's talking about reducing not only the inflammation in the body from food, but also from stress. And he talks about how it's important to touch people, to shake their hand or give people a hug, and to get to reduce your stress in your job. So these things we think are part of the I want to say, the Western mentality of work. You have to work all the time and only work because you have to provide for the family.
Yes.
But if we think about, I need to have balance in my life so that I'm working, I'm also eating correctly, I exercise, as you said, and I get good sleep, and then I spend time with my family. You need a sense of community. So this sense of community we find people are looking for. We talked right before your show. There are a lot of people who follow you on the internet and your media, and they like to read about you because people feel a sense of community. They understand what you talk about. They believe in you and they relate to you. What we're finding now is the sense of community online is very powerful. And
so we talk about not only nutrition or exercise, also we talk about the relations, attitude to your life. What are those bad habits that people must avoid?
So the bad habits are the calories, having too many. The type of calories, the sugar, the fats, and the very high, let's say sugars and fats. Those two, if you can try and reduce those, especially sugar. The bad omega-6s, which are inflammatory, these are key. And then getting good sleep. When I arrived last night, there was a beautiful festival in the middle of the town square. Music was going on. So I opened up my hotel window and I listened to the music and it was incredible. Then when I decided to go to sleep, I called my wife in the United States. I said, hey honey, how's everything? I'm going to sleep now. I closed the windows, I closed the shades, I made the room very dark, and I got 6 hours of great sleep.
Wow.
So you need time to relax.
But there is a day difference between US and Mongolia, and
Yes.
it's always very hard to go and adapt.
Yes,
and you
yes.
do it by your time.
Yes, yes. I try and find a rhythm and then really concentrate the sleep time.
I understand.
Дэлхийн шилдэгүүдийг тодруулдаг Forbes сэтгүүлийн шилдгээр Luxury King Tower apartment шалгарлаа.
What is very important in life as a professional?
I think having good relationships, even if it's just one good friend, your wife, your partner, your children, or someone that you trust and really care for, I think that's an important thing. So people don't feel alone. It may sound strange, but people don't feel alone in the world. In addition to good nutrition, good exercise, good sleep, and then having a purpose. There's a very famous book called Healthy Aging, written by a guy named Andrew Weil. He looks like the prototypical Santa Claus, And he found that he studied the people in Okinawa, Japan, people in Peru who lived to be 106. And he found out not only do they have good nutrition, but they also have a sense of utility. They have purpose. And when you feel you have purpose, you have a good life. So I think that's one of the most important things, a sense of purpose.
Yeah, I think the most important thing in life is purpose. And even that, it sounds very general, but everybody has to say in words, what is exactly your purpose?
Right.
What is your purpose?
My purpose is to try and find happiness and good as much as I can every day.
Wow. My purpose is to be a part of progress in this country.
It's beautiful.
And to help those who who still don't know even their needs, to understand that it's each of us that will make that difference. Not government, not somebody else. Today, now, and all together. That's why I think communication, as you said, important. And the very fact that you are sitting now here in UB with me, coming yesterday from US, our world is so interrelated. And through this communication, we make this world even better.
Yeah.
If we don't communicate with words, people communicate with bullets. So I think very important interview, and very much enjoyed this interview because I saw your big picture and running from the ocean, big guy running, and then, whoa, this guy is going to be my guest today. So, Luigi, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
За, хүн төлөвчтэй өнөөдөр манай Defacto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Herbalife компани энэ хоол тэжээлийн хөгжүүлэхийг хариуцсан дэд захирал Luigi Gratton гэж хүн орцлоо. Их баярлалаа.